Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be doing my 10,000 subscriber special Q&A video. So stick this video on in the background, listen to it, it's probably going to be a bit longer, but yeah, I'm super excited and let's get right into the questions. So the first question here actually comes from someone who I know in real life who wishes to remain anonymous, and they asked me, what is my favorite video game dog? And I thought about this one for a while, but then the answer came to me, and that is Lucky from Animal Crossing. He was a neighbor of mine in Animal Crossing New Leaf on the 3DS, and ever since I met him in that game, he has been my favorite video game dog. He kind of reminds me of my dog in real life because he just looks like a fragile little dog. He's all bandaged up like a mummy, and he reminds me of my real dog Dozer, who's going on 14 now, still going strong, but he is also a fragile little white dog, so that's why I love Lucky so much. Alright, now on to questions that you guys asked me in the comments of my posts and all that stuff. First up, we have one from Neptune Macaw 3358, and they asked, is there anything you wished you would have picked up while you were in Japan? Now, for those of you who don't know, I did live in Japan for a couple years, and I was also just there again visiting at the beginning of 2024. And honestly, there's nothing that really stood out to me that I was like, oh, I wish I got that while I was there. But after doing a bit of thinking, I did come up with an answer, and that is any of the kind of fun colored Nintendo 64 consoles. I bought a lot of really nice N64 controllers while I was there of like Japan exclusive colors, but I never saw a console for a price that I was willing to pay. So because I do have a black Japanese Nintendo 64 and my black American N64 from my childhood, but the colored ones even there are a bit more expensive, and if you are trying to buy one online, even from Japan, they are even more expensive. So I wish I would have picked out at least one to match one of the cool controllers I got over there. But it's not a huge deal, but if I did have to say something, it would be a colored Nintendo 64. Mike731188 asked, have you ever enjoyed any other Mystery Dungeon games besides Pokemon? And I thought this was a great question because I will never pass up the opportunity to talk about the Mystery Dungeon games. And to answer your question, yes, I have. I love the Dragon Quest Mystery Dungeon names, the Torneko or Taloon if you go by his English name. Those Mystery Dungeon games are great. There's one on the Super Nintendo, one on the PS1, and then there's like a port of the PS1 game to the Game Boy Advance that doesn't have a fan translation yet, and then there's a third one on the PS2 that also doesn't have a fan translation, but I did pick up all those games when I was living in Japan, and those are probably my favorite Mystery Dungeon games other than the Pokemon ones. I played a little bit of Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon on the PS1. I didn't like it as much as the Dragon Quest ones. I felt it was a bit too easy from what I played of it. And then there's also the Shiren the Wanderer games, which I still have yet to check out, but those are like the original Mystery Dungeon games. So there are tons of other options out there, but if you're looking for a place to start, other than Pokemon, and you're a fan of Dragon Quest, I recommend the Torneko no Daiboken games. That's what they're called, because they were only released in Japan. So, but those are really good. Seraphim Eyes 890, sorry, you guys are really tripping me up with some of these names. They asked, if you had to erase one of these games, and I think they meant to say, if you had to erase one of these game franchises and all of the games that are in the franchise or series, so basically if I had to just get rid of one game series from the list that they provided, which one would it be? And they gave me Pokemon, Metroid, Legend of Zelda, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Final Fantasy. So of those 5, which one would I snap my fingers and erase forever? This is tough because I love all 5 of these series, but if I had to pick one, and I feel like people are going to be mad at me no matter what I choose here, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be Metroid, only because I feel like out of these 5 that they gave me, Metroid kind of means the least to me because I didn't really grow up with it as, you know, it being as big of a deal as these other for franchises are. I guess I didn't really grow up with Final Fantasy either. I kind of started that series when I was a teenager, but I'd say I enjoy Final Fantasy more than Metroid. So with that being said, I would delete Metroid, but I would be very sad about it. And to follow that question up, Tommy Maxi 2665 asked, what is your favorite Metroid game? They said that theirs is Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Such an amazing game. Well, I'll have to take your word for it because Metroid Prime 2 is one of the Metroid games I've yet to play. But if I had to pick my favorite Metroid game, I would say it's Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance. My friend Jason asked, which console ecosystem do you regret buying into? That's a tough question because, to be honest with you, I don't think I necessarily regret buying into any console. Yeah, let me phrase it this way. If there was a console that I regret getting day one, it might be maybe the PS4. It's kind of a funny story with the PS4. I didn't want one at launch, but it was coming out and my dad was talking to some people. We were at a game store called Play and Trade that doesn't exist near us anymore, and the guy working there completely sold my dad on getting me a PS4 for Christmas. And I kind of told my dad, I was like, honestly, like, you don't have to get it for me. I don't really want anything that's gonna be on the console at launch anyway. And he was just like, oh yeah, you know, it is what it is. But for some reason, this worker at this game store got my dad really excited for the PS4. And my dad's really not super into video games. Like, he would sit and watch me play them occasionally, but for some reason, this guy got my dad hyped about the PS4. So my dad bought the family a PS4 for Christmas. Of course, I was the only one who really played it. But I would say maybe that, but it's kind of hard to say I regret it because I didn't spend my own money on that console anyway. But for a while with the PS4, there were no games that I was super excited for a while. Other than that, maybe the 3DS at first, only because, 6 months or whatever, or a year after it came out, it got that huge price reduction where they brought it down from $250, which is what I paid for it, down to like $170. And that was kind of painful to see because I bought that console myself and I was only 14 or 15 at the time and I had saved up all my own money and stuff. So I'd say maybe that one, but those two. But then, now I really enjoy both of those systems. So I wouldn't say I regret getting either one of them. But yeah, that's a tough question, Jason. I'm curious to know your answer to that. Peanut Butter Piranha, that's a cool name. They asked, would you ever consider, I just can't read. They didn't even spell anything wrong. Would you ever consider doing a favorite games of all time list? Yes, I would. I actually think about doing this like almost every day. My problem is I'm just like, I have such a hard time making lists. I know my last video was my top 10 GBA games. It's so hard for me to narrow my favorite games down because it's like, what quantifies liking this game more than this game? It's very subjective, but I guess that's what people want to see anyway. But yeah, I would love to do my top 10 favorite games of all time. I probably will make one soon now that I'm just putting it out there in the universe. So thank you for that question. And yeah, I will definitely make a video of my top 10 games of all time at some point in the future. I'll try to make it soon though, just for you, Peanut Butter Piranha. All right. XX Belligerent XX asked, what are some future video ideas that you have in the future? Anything new? Sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of your question. I just get tripped up on when sentence structure is weird. They're asking, what are some of my future video ideas? Anything new you want to bring to the channel? Well, a good one is my top 10 games of all time. Honestly, as much as I was just saying top 10s I find kind of difficult, I do really enjoy making them. I think they're a ton of fun to just sit down and write a list. So I want to do more top 10s. I want to do more top 10s for like specific consoles and then my favorite games of all time. I also, this isn't new, but I do want to do more month-long challenges like I've done with the Game Boy twice. I think I want to do it for other consoles, as fun as it is to do with the Game Boy. Everyone keeps asking me to do Game Boy Advance, so honestly, that's probably what I'll do next. I've attempted to do a couple, and just with work and stuff, I would just come home and be like, man, I don't really feel like playing Game Boy today. And, you know, and then I was like, now I'm not going to have like enough stuff to talk about in the video, and it's a whole thing. So I might try to workshop the month-long challenges a little bit, maybe make them longer, because the first one I made, I was like just out of college and I didn't have a job, so like it was all I was doing for a month. And then the second one I made, it was when I was in Japan as a teacher and I had like a long break from school, so like I kind of had the time to put into that. But that hasn't happened recently, but I'll find a way to make it work because I do want to make more of those. I know a lot of you guys enjoy them and I enjoy making them, and it's kind of like a unique thing to my channel that I'm not huge, I'm not saying I'm famous or anything, but I'd say it's when people who are fans of my channel think of my channel, it's probably one of the things they think of is those challenge videos that I did. So yeah, to answer your question in a roundabout way, those are some of my ideas I'd like to do. Super Mike 12321 asked, what are your thoughts on the Switch 2 presentation? So this was asked 9 days ago when that was pretty fresh. Actually, oh, I guess it's been about a month now. But I have a lot of thoughts on the Switch 2. I'm really excited for it. In terms of that presentation itself, I mean, Mario Kart looks amazing. I'm so excited for that. The new Donkey Kong game looks amazing. I've been wanting a new 3D platformer from Nintendo that's like not Mario for the longest time, so I feel like I was really heard, even though obviously it's not because of me that they're making that game, but I feel heard, so that makes me feel good. I'm excited for new Kirby Air Riders, that's exciting. And I think the console looks great. I mean, it honestly seems to be more powerful than I was expecting it to be, which I think that's exciting. And yeah, my only thing, and this is what a lot of people are talking about, the price of games sure have gone up a lot, and games are like keys that you put into the system, then you download the game from the internet, which is like, why? If we're making cartridges still, like, why is the game not on there? It is what it is, you know. I know a lot of people are really angry about that, and like me as you can see, a physical game collector, it is upsetting. But like, I don't know, I mean, we can sit here and complain about it as much as we want, but nothing's gonna change. It's just, it is what it is. So we can still collect the physical cartridges, but you know, it's gonna be different because you're gonna have to download the game still. But that's just how it is. But with modern games, like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the preservation might be better because it's not like the PS3 era where PS3 games kind of only ran on the PS3, if you know what I mean. And like nowadays, I feel like Nintendo with their Switch line of consoles now, it's like all the Switch 1 games will be compatible on the Switch 2. And my hope is that moving forward, it'll be really easy to play all of your older games on the newer consoles. I think Nintendo's just gonna stick with the Switch style of console for the rest of eternity, to be honest with you. It's working really well for them, and it seems like there's no issues with compatibility for old Switch games to the Switch 2, so I think it'll be fine. But it is upsetting that they're making some weird choices with that stuff. But overall, I'm really excited for the Switch 2. I just got my email from Nintendo a couple days ago, and I was able to pre-order from their website. So I've got my pre-order locked in, got Mario Kart and all that. I'm excited. I mean, it's so easy to sit here and be negative, especially being on the internet and stuff and seeing what everyone's saying. But I'm excited. I mean, what are you going to do? So yeah, sorry, that was a bit long-winded, but I'm excited. Dabube6128 asked, do you sometimes feel it's hard to find time to play video games? They said, I'm married, work full-time, have friends, and a cat. Well, congratulations. You sound like you have a very nice life. That sounded sarcastic. That wasn't me being sarcastic. I just think that's nice. I would love to have a cat. That's mostly why I said that. Sometimes, this is them still, sometimes I just don't find time, or sometimes I just don't find the time or prioritize different things. Hey, I think that's great, because if you told me you had a wife, or sorry, a partner, and you work full time and have friends and a cat, and you're like, and I ignore all of them and just play games all the time, I'd be worried. But it seems like you have a good balance in life. But yeah, to answer your question, sometimes it is hard to find times to play games. As a full-time working adult who also has a wife and a small dog. Um, but you know what? I've also noticed that it kind of makes me appreciate my time playing games more when my time isn't like unlimited like it is when, or like it was when I was a kid. So that is kind of like it. I appreciate my free time a lot more. But then there are also times where I have free time and I don't feel like playing games. Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and play a game, and then I kind of realize, I don't even feel like playing a game right now. And sometimes that's a bit sad, because I feel like when I was younger, it was like, oh, free time, I'll play games all day and have a great time the whole time. But I feel like as much as I still love video games, they're my favorite thing to do in my free time, most of the time is, it is kind of sad when you're like, oh, I'm not even enjoying myself right now, and then you turn the game off. But yeah, it can be difficult to balance time sometimes. I always try to make sure I'm spending time with my wife and doing things that she enjoys as well, because she's not super into games. And I think that's great, because it kind of gives my life more balance, where I'm not just spending all my free time doing one thing. But yeah, and I think I relate to the way you're feeling, Dabube, and I think a lot of others out there do, especially as a lot of us who grew up with games are now becoming adults with lives. And yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. So you're not alone, Dabube. You're not alone. Mythical P asked, did you learn Japanese? If so, how did you do it? So yeah, I learned Japanese and I did it by studying, which sounds funny, but it's true. I studied Japanese for 4 years in college, and then I studied abroad there for like a little summer program, and then I continued to study a little bit in my free time after college, and then I moved there for 2 years, and that's where I met my wife and all this fun stuff that happened. And yeah, I wouldn't consider myself fluent though. I really should get back to studying, but now I'm back in America, and it's going back to that previous question, finding times to do things gets harder. And I've probably lost quite a bit of my Japanese ability, but I can still read it. And sometimes, like, in some of my collection videos, when I'm like reading it, I've had comments of people being like, are you just pretending to know how you read it and saying the name of the game with like a weird Japanese accent? I'm like, no, I'm actually reading it. But a lot of that stuff hasn't left my brain, but some of it has. And yeah, I think anyone, if you have the patience, anyone can learn it, but it does take a lot of time and dedication. And hearing that question from you kind of makes me realize that I should study it again from time to time. But yeah, just studying. And there's lots of great, free tools out there. There's lots of YouTubers and stuff who do kind of, basic Japanese learning type of videos. So yeah, just look it up, and I'm sure you'll find something that works for you if you're interested in studying it yourself. Jacob asked, what's 9 plus 10? 21, of course. And then he also asked, what is your least favorite gaming memory? Maybe something you were really excited for that turned out to be terrible, or having a lot of fun playing a bad game. So that's kind of two separate questions. So let's start with the first one. My least favorite gaming memory. I thought about this one quite a lot. Honestly, probably there's that time period there. I made a video about this a while ago, just kind of rambling about it, but just that time period where Mario games were kind of bad from like, I want to say like 2013 to like 2016 before Mario Odyssey came out, and then things got better. You know, Paper Mario Sticker Star was a big disappointment, and I was really excited for that game. That game was a disappointment. I also was kind of disappointed by Luigi's Mansion 2. That game's grown on me a little bit, but it's definitely my least favorite in the trilogy still. The whole new Super Mario Bros. Phase during that time period as well, were just like the only new Mario platformers we were getting were new Super Mario Bros. That was exhausting. I didn't like those games for a while. Now I think they're fine. I'll go back and play them occasionally just for like a solid classic Mario experience. But at the time I was really sick of them. And what else? I feel like there's one other thing. I'm looking at my 3DS shelf right now because I feel like the beginning of the 3DS era, I was very disappointed. Oh, I've got a good recent one for you guys. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Those games made me so mad. Those games really made me mad. Those just the cheapest, bare bones, cash grabby, ugly Pokemon games ever. I know some people like them, but those games just were such a disappointment to me. So there's a few off the top of the head there for you, Jacob. And then having so much fun playing a bad game. Let me think. Jacob's a friend of mine in real life, so I'm trying to think of something him and I would have played together. One of them was, I know he likes this memory, is when we played The Grinch on Dreamcast together. That's a good one. I'm kind of drawing a blank right now for many others though, but that's a good one. The Grinch on Dreamcast. If I think of any more, I'll edit it in, but I'm gonna go with that. The Grinch. Classic. What are your top 3 games ever? Oh, sorry. This is from Mateus. You know what? I'm not going to say this person's name because I think it's their first and last name. I don't want people to stalk them or something weird. But they asked, I'll just say Mateus. Mateus asked, what are your top 3 games ever? Oh, they asked a whole bunch of questions. Oh man. Okay. Let's go with the first one first. Spoilers for my top 10 games of all time video. But you know, it could be different. Top 3 games ever off the top of my head. Number 1, I would definitely say Luigi's Mansion. I feel like I've said that a lot of times on the channel, so that's not a surprise. Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube. Oh man. Number 2... This is tough. You know what? I can't do this right now. I'm just going to say my number 1 game is Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube. The rest, you guys are going to have to stay tuned for. Because this person has other questions, so sorry, I'm not trying to, you know, cut you short, Mateus. Let's get on to the other questions you asked, because you asked a lot of good ones. How do you make time for gaming as an adult in your daily life? Okay, we kind of talked about this a bit, but I'm lucky enough where my job that I currently work is pretty close to home, so I don't have a big commute or anything. So yeah, you know, I work 9 to 5. I come home, and if I feel like it, I'll play video games for a bit after eating dinner with my wife. That's like my normal schedule. I come home, we eat dinner together, watch some TV, then I'll play games. But I don't feel like playing games every day. And then usually on the weekends, I'll try to schedule out time to work on a video, or usually I'll play games most of the weekend if we don't have anything going on. But then I also try to, you know, get out of the house as well. I'm not just playing games the whole weekend. But for me, it's not that hard to schedule out time to play games. But I know for some people it is. If you have a big commute, or if you have kids, or, you know, there's a lot of factors there. Or some people have to work more than 40 hours a week, and that's tough. But for me, I kind of have my schedule down, and I'm very thankful for that. And then your other question is, what does your girlfriend or boyfriend, or in my case, wife, think about your gaming time? Honestly, I wish she was in here to answer this question herself, but I don't think she minds. You know, obviously, if it's the weekend and it's nice outside, she'll be like, let's go do something. And I'll be like, okay, because I'm not going to say no. That wouldn't be nice. But yeah, you know, she's not super into games herself. We'll play stuff together from time to time, or she'll watch me if she thinks I'm playing something that looks interesting. But yeah, she doesn't have an issue with it, if that's kind of what you were getting at. But no, yeah, we have a good balance, I'd say. We have a very good balance, so I'm also thankful for that. They also asked, do you play more modern or retro titles these days, and why? I'd say I play a pretty good balance of modern and retro. If I do, you know, I feel like actually sometimes I play more retro than modern, only because the price. I have a huge backlog of retro games that I like already own, and then plus there's emulation and all that stuff. So I feel like a lot of the time, especially recently, I've been going back and playing more older stuff. And with new games, I usually don't play games. I usually don't get games day one anymore unless it's a new Nintendo game, because Nintendo games like never go down in price. Sometimes they might drop like $10 or $20 temporarily, but then they always go back to full price, and then sometimes go up in price. So if it's like a new Zelda, Mario, Pokemon, any of that stuff, I'll pick that up day one. Sometimes I won't play it day one, but I'll get it. But yeah, I play a good balance of retro and modern. I feel like there was something else I was going to say about that. Oh, and why. The why is, yeah, usually just the price, and it's like I have a big backlog of retro stuff that I have yet to get to. So a lot of times I feel like I'm going back and playing older stuff until something new comes out. Like, for example, when the new Mario Kart and the Switch 2 comes out and the new Donkey Kong comes out in July, I'm probably going to be playing a lot of that stuff because I'll get that stuff day one. But then in between, you know, moments like that, I'm going back and playing a lot of retro stuff, or even just stuff from like the PS4 that I haven't gotten to yet, which it's not retro, but it's not brand new, but it's definitely modern. So there you go. It's a balance. It's a balance for sure. Okay. Oh, and then this is Mateus's last question. I'm very thankful you asked all these questions because I just think it's nice. I think it's very nice that you asked all these questions. I feel like some people would be like, all right, I'll answer one of these. I'm going to give you my full attention, Mateus. Okay, their last question is, for someone who never played Pokemon, which game would you suggest to start with? That's a really good question. I'd say, if you want to experience the beginning of Pokemon, I'd say start at the beginning. But more specifically, I'd say start with like Pokemon Crystal version on the Game Boy Color, because that's like definitely for most people the most playable classic Pokemon game. I know red, blue, and yellow are kind of rough. I still love going back to them, but I'd say start with Gen 2 if you want classic. And then it really depends on what you want. Do you want the classic experience, or do you want a more modern experience? If you want a more modern experience, I'd say start with some of the 3DS games. They're all really affordable still if you do want to buy them physically. And they all have great quality of life improvements. And yeah, I think all of the 3DS games are solid choices, especially if it's like a younger person who's maybe never played an RPG before or something like that. Those games on the 3DS do a good job of kind of easing you into it. And then if you want my favorite games to start with, I'd say find a way to play some of the DS games. The Gen 4 and 5 games are my favorites of all time, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're the best to start with. Honestly, if you're new to the series, I'd say start with something more modern, like the 3DS games. Sword and Shield on the Switch is good. I didn't hate those. And yeah, if you're looking for something on the Switch, I would say probably start with Sword and Shield. I'd say they're the most balanced of all of the Pokemon games on the Switch. But yeah, there's a few options there. So on the Switch, I'd say Sword and Shield. On the 3DS, I'd say honestly any of them. And then if you want something more classic, you know, there's the Game Boy. I'm basically naming all the games. Honestly, any of them would be good for a beginner. I'd say just look at gameplay of them and be like, which graphical style looks the best for you, and start there. But yeah, I'd say you really can't go wrong with anything. So there's another long-winded answer. But yeah. Wofi asked, where's my new Leaf Tour video? Okay, so, and then they put an angry face, but they said, JK, and congrats for 10,000 subs. So thank you. The New Leaf tour video. I've been talking about this for a long time. I want to tour my old new Animal Crossing New Leaf town. I kept saying I was going to do it for a while, and I still haven't done it. I'm looking at the game on the shelf right now. I will do it eventually. I will. I promise. It's coming, Woofy. It's coming. I just don't know when, but it's coming. All right. Oh, hold on. Okay, I think we are on to the last couple of questions here. VVEIII, I don't know how you pronounce that, but they asked, if you could choose one video game to make into a big budget TV series, what would it be? So this is tough because a lot of series that I would have chosen in the past already have series or movies. Well, not all of them, but like Zelda's getting a movie. Mario has a movie that I really enjoyed. We've got The Last of Us now. We've got Devil May Cry. We've got Castlevania. What else? We've always had Pokemon. That's a great one. It's not, I wouldn't really say it's big budget, but it's enjoyable. So I have two ideas for this actually. And they're not, I don't think they're what people would expect. So just hear me out. The first one I'm going to say is Pikmin. I think Pikmin would make a great, I know you said big budget TV series, but I could see a Pikmin movie working, like an animated kids movie similar to Mario. And I could also see Chibi Robo working as a TV series, kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon style, like villain of the week type of thing. I know that's, you know, maybe not what you wanted to hear, but hey, I think both of those would be fun, colorful little series to see, either movies or animated TV series based on. And finally, oh, I feel kind of bad that we ended on this question. The last question here is from Relax and Game. They said, hello. What are your favorite KK Slider songs? KK Slider is that dog with the guitar from Animal Crossing. And I hate to be a disappointment, but I honestly don't have a favorite KK Slider song. But I will say I do really enjoy listening to the Animal Crossing soundtracks. They're very relaxing. And yeah, I can tell you my favorite Animal Crossing soundtrack. It's the original GameCube soundtrack, or the Nintendo 64 soundtrack, if you are in Japan. But yeah, I love all the Animal Crossing music though. But yeah, I'd say I don't really go out of my way to listen to the KK Slider songs. He's got the funny Vocaloid voice, and I know some people are really into them, but they're just not really for me. But regular instrumental Animal Crossing music, I think that's great. But anyways, guys, thank you if you've stuck with me for this far. I know this was a bit of a longer video, but I loved making this. If you have any other questions for me, drop them down below in the comments section. I'll try to answer them right there, or maybe I'll make another Q&A video in the future if I see some stuff that I think I could turn into a video. But yeah, thanks so much for 10,000 subs. It's been a blast, and I'm hoping to continue making content here that you guys enjoy, and, you know, maybe see a little bit more growth in the future. We'll see. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me on all the socials of your choice. I'll have my link tree down in the description as usual. And thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.